These are the best times for any investor to truly focus on how to use taxes to leverage their wealth. Because if you're able to reduce your taxes by anywhere from 10 to 40%, what that allows you to do is you just put in your pocket additional cash flow to kind of accelerate your point of financial freedom.
I'm Kevin Attride, and I'm on a mission to help you with investing secrets, empowering you to succeed financially, changing your financial perspective and growing your wealth in good times and in bad. And when the next crisis comes, those prepared to weather the storm will achieve great success while the world melts with fear.
Investing Secrets with Kevin Attride.
Today, I'm so excited to welcome Michael Uadiale of Smeed CPA. Michael has become a wonderful friend over the many years and someone I respect greatly. He is an expert in all things taxes and tax strategy, but he also is an investor himself and a very wise individual. The very first time I connected with him, I was impressed not only with his character, but how he could help me as he's helping many clients. So, Michael, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be on this podcast, and I look forward to being able to share some tips and nuggets of wisdom with your audience.
Well, thank you for that. Tell us about yourself and your experience and your firm.
I am a certified public accountant. I have been one licensed in the state of California and Texas since the year 2005. I am the managing partner of Smeed CPA, like you rightly introduced. We are a virtual firm, meaning we work nationwide and we have no boundaries. We still do have 2 brick and mortar locations, but all of our team members are all across the nation. So our firm, we are proud to say, has been in existence for 15 years, and we are fortunate and blessed to have been the recipient of many awards in our profession, and we continue to believe in the need to serve our clients extremely very well. So that's who I am. Just like you mentioned, I am also a serial entrepreneur. So even though I'm a certified public accountant, I always look at what I do for our clients from the perspective of being a business owner. So I'm not just in there to crunch numbers or being counters, as people will say. I really like to focus on what will bring value to a business owner, which is increasing their bottom line.
That's wonderful. And Michael, also, you're the founder of Financial Freedom Academy. Tell us briefly about that.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, we noticed one of the defects of what we were doing with some clients was the fact that when we design strategies for them, we tell them what to do, and when they walk away from that session, they meet with other related service advisors, whether it be an attorney, a financial planner, an insurance agent, a real estate agent, or whatever. And what we recommended is not eventually what the client implements, because there was this disconnect between our recommendation and what all of these other service providers eventually offer to our clients. And that was where we decided we wanted to put in place a kind of a clearinghouse or a common marketplace, if you will, where we will put together no less than 3 well-vetted service providers that are very needed to all what our clients typically do. And so what we have done with the Financial Freedom Academy is to continue to make it a financial and a wealth education platform, but more importantly for our clients especially, to give them an access into well-vetted service professionals that truly are needful for them to do what they need to do. So that's how we came to bring into place Financial Freedom Academy, and we've been excited to see that piece of our business continue to grow, because it has really been a great value add and continues to be for the clients.
Today's episode has been made possible by our presenting sponsors, Wellings Capital, build wealth by investing in diversified, recession-resistant commercial real estate. Smeed CPA, the next frontier CPA firm for strategic investors. and living wealth. Bank on yourself with private family financing.
So I want to jump in. We live in times of economic challenge. And during these times, I'm interested, what are your practical tips, whether someone wants to change his or her financial perspective, whether they want to improve themselves, or they really have the intent of growing wealth? What are the practical tips that you're guiding?
I agree, and many of us who are in the marketplace really understand these are very uncertain times. When it comes to really actionable items, I have a few things I kind of communicate to our clients in terms of how to continue to grow their wealth. We definitely have a crisis with our supply chains by reason of what COVID has caused. We have the challenges that has come from inflation, which is not unconnected to some of the unintended consequences of what the government has done to try to counteract the downside of to businesses. Now we have even an additional challenge that goes just beyond the United States, which has to do with the fact that there is an attempt to maybe unseat the United States from that position of being the nation that has the trading currency by way of the US dollars. Now, all of this put together more seems like a perfect storm for any investor that is very much focused on trying to grow their wealth. So one of the things I am saying clearly to our clients is they need to begin to look at their overall wealth strategy and begin to focus their investments in the things that the government will pay you to do. Okay? And unfortunately, we don't have the time for that, and so I won't be able to go into details here. But however, the government has quite a lot of very interesting things they have put out there, which literally, if you begin to look at focusing your investment in those directions, you get highly subsidized by the government. You are getting paid by the United States government for doing some investments in those areas. So that's one thing I'm saying to investors and our clients to begin to look at. One of the big areas, at least from my personal experience, that I'm seeing is all of what the government is now doing in the area of green energy, credits related to alternative sources of energy. Now, because there's this whole big push about making the earth more economically sustainable, there are tons of incentives that the government have put out there. And so if you are investing in something like, say, carbon capture and a whole lot of things that is helping to make the earth more sustainable, you are going to find that the government has put in place quite some very attractive level of credits, which literally, in my opinion, you may be getting back more than 100% of your investment, even in the first year of you making those investments. So your subsequent years in some of these industries is more of an icing on the cake compared to putting your money in some other areas. Now, the second thing I was going to say is the fact that the world really is now a flat global village. And so what that has done is we no longer live in a world where you have silos. Geographical boundaries by reason of countries have really been broken down. And so this, in my mind, presents very high innumerable opportunities for anybody to grow their wealth. There were still some nations, for example, where they did not have as much restrictions like some countries had. And so where most people's businesses suffered greatly by reason of those lockdowns, but if you were in a position to be able to outsource or you had your employees in other countries that didn't have those levels of restriction, it minimized the adverse effect on your business. So I think having a high level of knowledge in terms of the kind of world we live in now is really, really very important to any investor who is very interested in growing their wealth. Thirdly, I want to always emphasize the need for any investor to build systems and processes. I know it's a very common cliche. People will say to you, if you want it to get done, then do it yourself. I kind of believe that's like one of the worst advice you can ever take. Because what that means is you will only be able to grow your wealth to the extent to which your own energy and time is available to build wealth. But when you build systems, you build processes, what that allows you to do is you leverage other people. Lastly, and I know people will expect me to mention this, taxes, taxes, taxes. Now, most people, rightly or wrongly, they see taxes as a burden on their back by reason of laws that the government has put upon us. Now, it does not have to be so. For most people who have listened to me, you've heard me say this over and over again. Our tax code in the United States is a very interesting one. Of all of the volumes in the tax code, only about 3% really is geared towards increasing your taxes. 97% of the tax code literally tells you how to reduce your taxes. So even though these are crazy on certain times, I think these are the best times for any investor to truly focus on how to use taxes to leverage their wealth. Because if you're able to reduce your taxes by anywhere from 10 to 40%, what that allows you to do is you just put in your pocket additional cash flow to kind of accelerate your point of financial freedom.
Keep getting practical for us. What are some additional things that investors, whether seasoned, whether new investors, what are some really practical, simple things that they need to be thinking about?
You know, when things seems to be changing at a very rapid pace, like we are currently dealing with, one of the things my dad said to me is, when things are changing, you always want to go back to some things that are fundamental, meaning those things that do not change. When the whole world seems to be in a chaotic situation, like we said, we have inflation, we have the Russia-Ukraine war, we have the supply chain setup. All of this rightfully has created a level of anxiety that we've not seen in the last 50 years. Now, even though those things may be out of many of our control, investors should begin to look more at what are the fundamentals that never really change, they never go out of vogue. Now, in my mind, I always say to clients, you want to try to invest in businesses or focus your industries on those areas where the cash flow is still very certain. Cash flow will always be king, okay? So for those people who are interested in paper trading, as an example, I will say clearly to investors in that space, if you look through, remember, we are coming to the end of a boom cycle, okay? We are very close to it. We may not know exactly when all of the boom is going to burst, but we all know we are close to it. However, there are just industries that you know that no matter how bad it may be in terms of recession or whatever you want to call it, these are industries that every one of us cannot do without. So another example will be the UPS. UPS, believe it or not, has increased their dividends by over 46%, okay, year over year in the last 2 years. I mean, that's tremendous. That beats the rate of what you would call the inflation. Like I was saying, cash flow will always be king. That's my key advice for most clients. Another thing is you want to do everything you can to hedge against inflation. Inflation will always be something we have to wrestle with in the next 2-3 years. And every investor must work on how to beat that. Because at the end of the day, if inflation eats into the value of your wealth, you may be ending up in a negative net worth situation. Another practical advice is hedge against risk. Now, risk is one of the things that as a world economy, we've done a great job being able to hedge against it by reason of insurance. One of the things my dad kind of taught me in my early years was never get cheap with investing in insurance. So a great example is I had a few clients who I got them to invest in surplus lines of insurance. We had no idea it was going to come. Now, when hit, every of those companies, they got more reimbursement over and above all of their revenue because they had reasonable insurance that covered all those kind of risk. Now, most people always think insurance is just a waste. No, it's not a waste. So you got to learn to hedge against inflation, hedge against business risk that you have no control over. What you see going on right now with the Ukraine and Russia war, it's only a precursor of what is to come. 16 times in our world economic history have there been attempts to unseat the dominant power. And if you look through what we have gone through in the last 5 years, you're going to find some key things that have already occurred. We've already had and we continue to have a cyber war between the United States and Russia. We have had and we've continued to have a capital war. All of these sanctions against Russia right now are an indication of that. We've had and we continue to have trade wars with China. Now, when you look at every of those things, the only war that has not occurred again is what you will call the war of arms and bullets and all of that. Now, when you go back and really see what has happened in the economic history, every of these things I've just talked about, they precedes a next war. And so people should not feel like we are far from Ukraine, we're far from Russia. Every of what is happening in those two countries today are going to eventually have an impact on any investor. So we all must be prepared to hedge against the impact of those things.
Okay, Michael, knowing that this is not individualized guidance, this is about education, but you're telling your clients a number of things, and I'm interested to peek behind the curtain. Tell us, what type of guidance are you providing to your clients in these economic times?
Believe it or not, unfortunately for us in the United States, most people, maybe up to 95% of people, spend more time on how to plan their 2 weeks vacation than how they plan their life finances. I mean, it's a tragedy on how we live. So more importantly, in times like these, we all cannot afford to continue to just live life day to day. So the need to be very intentional on how you devise your wealth. And so one of the things we're saying to our clients is, you need to...
In times of turmoil, guidance from successful investors and the wealthy is critical for your success. Subscribe to our premium content to ensure you are well equipped for the growing crisis. Tell our audience how they can get a hold of you and your firm.
Our firm is... like I said, we are a virtual firm. The easiest way to get a hold of us is to send an email to us at taxes@smeedcpa.com. When you send an email to us, one of our client success team members will reach out to you and kind of try to ascertain what exactly you are seeking to achieve. And our desire is always to be of value. We are not just wanting to be a CPA to every person, because we always want to make sure that our services are most properly aligned to what a client's needs are.
There are more investing secrets that are quite powerful for you to build your wealth. If you'd like a VIP introduction to any one of our experts, click on the link below. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single tip from any of our seasoned experts. Okay, watch the next video so you can capture our next secrets to investing. If you're ready, it's time for you to experience financial freedom.
The information contained in this episode are opinions not to be used as individual guidance. As always, consult your own financial team for your investment decisions.